Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharp. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. And I'm also here to talk about a particular topic. So today I want to talk about the T visa. This is a type of solution that's available to individuals. You might be here without your papers, and this could be an option for you to be able to fix your situation. So I want to tell you about it so that you are able to get in touch with us and do a full evaluation on whether this is the right option for you. So, with the T visa, if you are here without your papers, and even if you're here with your papers, if you have been in a situation where you have been mistreated by somebody who has made you do work or do acts that you did not want to do, but because you felt like they had control over you, you went ahead and did those acts, then you may qualify for the T visa. So I'll give you an example. I know you are watching now. Thank you for joining. And if you're watching, you're working in the middle of the night. I know some of you are going to be going through this. Yeah, and I see this very often in the caretaking industry, where individuals, usually immigrants, are hired to do caretaking in group homes. And the way they're recruited at first is to say, oh, can you work here at the group home? Can you live here? We'll provide you housing, and you don't have to work at nights. We will just you'll have a room here, but you don't have to work at night. Somebody else will come in the nights, and then you find out once you start working that you are now working through the night. You are waking up in the middle of the night or having to stay up to tend to patients and or residents of the group home, and you are not being compensated for that. You didn't sign up for this, but now you're dependent on them. And they are taking advantage of you, forcing you now to wake up in the night, take care of the residents, because guess what? You're living there. You are now dependent on them for your housing, and you feel like you have no other option but to go ahead and comply with them and do the work. And guess what? You are also with vulnerable people. So the employer purposely does not hire somebody at night, even though they told you they would. And then because of that, you have to make sure that you are waking up and waking up or staying up to take care of vulnerable people. Because you could get in trouble, right? If you don't get up and take care of someone who has a fall risk, who's at risk for wandering, who has to be turned over in the middle of the night, maybe every 2 hours, because they're bedridden and they can get bed sores if you don't turn them. You're forced to do that because they did not do what they said they were going to do, to hire somebody at night so you don't have to do the work. In addition to that, if they're not paying you for labor at night, but now they're also make cutting your pay, paying you late. And now I'm pretty sure in these conditions and these times, they may also be using your immigration status against you, either directly or indirectly. So they may be reminding you that if you leave the facility that you're working at, you could be detained. And they put that fear in you that you have no rights. Sometimes they may tell you, if they promised that they were going to pay you a certain amount and now they're not paying that amount, and they use your immigration status to say, well, you don't have your papers, so I can't pay you. This is Hi there, Kate. This is a form of trafficking, because they are forcing you into that situation by what we call coercion or fraud. If they lied to you, first of all, they lied to you to get you to work there, and then they force you to work at night. That's fraud, because you would not have taken the job if you knew that you would be forced to work at night without pay. Nobody takes a job with the intention of not being paid. So this is just an example. It runs deeper than that, and it really depends on your circumstances. But this is where I say, get in touch with us and let's talk about your particular circumstances, because you may be experiencing abuses, mistreatment at your workplace, problems in regards to your pay, and you do not know that because of that, you are being forced into a situation of involuntary servitude. A lot of people don't know that they qualify for this form of relief, and we have been getting approvals for these. So they're still processing these. Now, in the case, this can also apply if, in the case of, for example, intimate partners. For instance, we got an approval for a client who came to the United States and was went into a romantic relationship, into an intimate relationship with someone who she knew for years, and that person had legal status, and they had promised, after she had babies for them, had promised, okay, I'm going to go ahead and file for you. However, after she had babies, what he did instead was force her to take care of his other children after they moved in together, take care of his other children. She never signed up for that, but once she was in the house, she was forced to, and threatened with taking away her own children if she didn't comply, or calling immigration on her if she didn't comply. And she wanted to now leave the relationship, but could not, because she was had to stay, or else risk losing her children or being separated from her own children. We got the approval for her to be able to get her T status to escape the situation. And we applied for this. By the way, we applied for the T visa while our client remained in that situation, because she could not leave until she had a way to leave safely. And this was a part of the plan to get her out of this trafficking situation safely, was to enable, because she was fully dependent on this man who had promised to marry her. She had his kids, but instead was forcing her to be a nanny, basically be a nanny for his other kids, and threatened her if she didn't cooperate with him. So, and this is a domestic violence situation. He did not physically attack her, but this is still considered domestic violence, because he had her obeying him under coercion, under threat. And because of that, she could not leave until she got the protection. So, as you can see, the T visa, it's very broad, and you are able to get relief under certain circumstances where you're being mistreated and abused. So, we are 24/7, guys. Get in touch with us. Get on our calendar so we can talk to you about the particular situation you're going through and determine whether this is for you. Here are some additional benefits in regards to the T visa. You can get the T visa regardless of how you entered the US. Whether you came in without inspection, you overstayed your visa, you know you're here, your visa expired, or you're even here on a current visa but going through a situation like that, you can qualify for the T visa. So it's very flexible. In addition to that, you can get protection from removal while you wait. So after you apply, there's what's called a bona fide determination letter that puts a halt on all immigration processes. And I mean, immigration removal, right? So if you're in immigration removal proceedings, it halts it altogether. If you have a final deportation order, it halts that while your process is moving forward. Then you get the work permit a 4-year work permit while you wait for them to make a final decision. Once they make a decision on this, you, your children, your spouse, if you have a spouse, can get this kind of protection as well. And then in addition to that, you are able to get a path to your green card. So somebody here says, can't be domestic violence. It's called domestic abuse, not violence. So same thing. Abuse is abuse. I don't care if it's domestic violence, domestic abuse. Nobody should endure domestic violence. And I still call it violence. Having somebody under threat is violence. So it is domestic violence. Nobody should have to live under threat of violence or under physical violence or under verbal abuse. It is a form of domestic violence. So it doesn't matter, guys. And guess what? Tomatoes, if you're going through this, you qualify. Same thing. You qualify for it. So let's not go down the rabbit hole about whether it's violence or abuse. It doesn't matter. They're both the same. And I don't want anybody having misconceptions about who is entitled to more relief than the other. Anybody who's experiencing coercion, physical violence, verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, it is the same thing. And you qualify for relief under immigration law. So let's keep that in mind. The T visa, I just wanted to clarify that because I am here to straighten out misconceptions. And I want you to know that if you are experiencing mistreatment, get help. It is there. It is available for your safety. And that's how we have changed the trajectory of our clients' lives here in the United States. I've watched my clients go from fear to success to stability and security because I encourage them to escape abuse, no matter what kind of abuse that they're experiencing. So once you are able to get the T visa, keep in mind you get protections while you're applying, but once you get the T visa, after 3 years, you are able to get your green card. And under certain circumstances, you're able to apply early. Your family, your spouse, your children under 21 can get it. And if you yourself are under 21 when you apply for the T visa, your parents, your children, your spouse, and a sibling who's under 18 can also qualify for this form of relief. It has been so valuable for our clients and to be able to get them out of very difficult situations, to stabilize their lives here, and to get legal assistance. So I wanted to give you a summary of this form of relief, but this is where you need to make sure that you can reach out and get the assistance that you need. Because that's the only way you're going to move forward is to take action. I can only give general information. I can't take it another step further and help you unless you reach out to help yourself first. I am running the phone lines 24/7. My entire team is on a mission to help immigrants to be able to get relief here and to get help that they deserve to stabilize their status here and to be safe and secure, especially now when immigration enforcement is high. We want to make sure that those who are here that deserve to get this relief get the relief that they qualify for. All right, so now I'm going to answer questions. So put your questions in the comments. I'm going to start on YouTube and Facebook. Hi there. Hi, Karen. It's nice to see you. Hi, Kay. So the T visa better than the U visa? If you qualify for the T visa, yes, I would say it's definitely better. U visa, so the T visa, a certification is not necessarily required for the T visa. The U visa is absolutely required. So if a and law enforcement agency is not going to sign off on that certification, you cannot proceed with a U visa. Thank you. So, Kay says, thank you so much for educating. Knowledge is power. Absolutely. The more we know, the better feeling we have. Please continue doing this for us to learn more about the T visa, especially we don't have a lawyer yet. Absolutely. I am here to educate and to use to provide you information that empowers you through your journey. How likely to get BFD letter and a BFD EAD for the T visa? Thank you and God bless. Thank you for that. So once you apply, you have a fair shot at it. Now, the BFD is discretionary, meaning the officer is going to use their discretion. For example, I don't want to necessarily say a percentage. If you don't have anything in your background that's derogatory, if you don't have any criminal offenses or deportation orders, a BFD is likely. And then once you get an issued a BFD, the next step is to get the BFD EAD. So it's likely, and you're never going to be in the running for it until you apply. Now, keep in mind the BFD, not getting a BFD does not mean you won't qualify for the T visa. So that's another thing. It just is discretionary. And there are ways to, if you have an offense in your background, if you've entered the country without permission, we do apply for forgiveness. Can I apply? I'm on TikTok now. Can I apply after I have been denied for N400 due to two travels outside the US over 6 months? Well, we'd have to look at that to see if the denial was correct. And keep in mind, if you said two travels, were both of them exceeding 6 months, separately or together? And also, um, were you maintaining your residence here in the US? Because if you went over 6 months, then they do give you, they presume that you abandoned your green card, but they give you the ability to rebut that presumption. So get in touch with us, talk to us, and we can see if there's a way to overcome. There's what's called the N336 to apply for an officer to review your application again. Will an IRS payment plan deny my citizenship application? Not necessarily. It shows that you are complying with a payment plan. However, where's the payment plan coming from? Did you have delinquent payments before? Was this an order of the court? We have to know more about your background. But what I would say is keep in mind, get a lawyer for citizenship. I'm going to tell you that your ability to succeed with an experienced immigration lawyer is going to go up substantially. And I say that because citizenship applications are not going to be straightforward. You have to make sure at a minimum you're providing documentation to show the positives of your contributions in the United States. Those contributions can range and vary depending on who you are, what your life looks like. So I don't want to say, for example, a lot of people are concerned about, well, what if I don't have volunteer work, right? Because it was mentioned in the list of positives. However, that may not be a requirement, but it's one of the things that you could show. But if you never did volunteer work, what were you doing? Were you busy working your butt off to support your family? Were you busy working and going to school at the same time? That is going to be the positive here. But that's going to show that you were consistently achieving positive things. And we can't do it all, right? So you may not have volunteer work, but you may have other attributes or other achievements that you want to highlight. Thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate that. Can file a I-130 and I-485 if entered without inspection, but on the NTA it is marked arriving alien. No. No. So if you have a notice to appear, you have to focus on your deportation defense. Get in touch with us because now you're in immigration court. We are expanding our deportation defense practice. So we are ready to roll to protect immigrants' right to remain here, even in immigration court. We prefer that people evaluate their options before that getting a notice to appear, but you get a notice to appear now, you're in immigration court, it's time to focus on your defense. It's totally doable to be able to defend against removal, but you need to be ready. And that's what we're here for. We're here to strategize, come up with a defense, and get you to still stay here. That's the ultimate goal. I applied concurrent filing for FAWAN AOS December 2023, got combo card. Will I get an update soon? I would say at earliest 2026 at the earliest. If I'm married and if you get a request for evidence, you're going to continue to get prima facie notices. If I'm married and over 21, can I help my parents get a green card? No crimes on their end. If your parents overstayed or had legal entry into the United States, or they have parole in place, yes, if your parents entered without inspection, it's not going to be as straightforward of a process. And you should definitely get in touch with us, have your parents get in touch with us to evaluate their options. Can I apply for citizenship after my husband files for divorce, but got my 10-year green card after 2-year card? You need to wait the so how long have you been a permanent resident? If it's 5 years, then you can apply for citizenship. Since you're divorced, you're gonna have to wait 5 years. Miss my biometrics appointment by 3 months. What should I do? Reschedule. We just if something like that happens, we let them know and they usually reschedule. Do that quickly before they deny it. Is that true that people who apply affirmative asylum in 2025, the interviews come within 6 months? Yes, we are seeing interviews coming quickly. We did get an approval most recently based on a situation like that. So be ready. Make sure you're submitting your application in sufficiently, submitting all the evidence. That is the difference between success and denial. Most asylum applications are going to be denied because the immigrant fails to show why they deserve it. They fail. It's very dependent on certain legal requirements. And if you don't pinpoint those specific legal requirements, you're going to fail, even if you may qualify. Asylum, you have to show. Now, just being afraid alone of going back to your country because of general reasons, like, I've heard so many people say, can I apply for asylum because I'm afraid to go back to my country? The crime has gotten so bad. They often target people who come from abroad or who travel often. Can I get asylum? No, asylum, that is actually not enough for asylum. You do have to show that you are being threatened, or you have a fear of being threatened or harmed based on certain characteristics that you may have. Like you may be a part of a particular social group where they're targeting that group. And if they find out you're in that group, they're going to target you in your country, and government isn't protecting you. Maybe based on political opinion. Are you involved in very controversial issues that cause you to be threatened? That would be based on political opinions. Do you oppose gang members? Do you oppose certain political parties? And is that causing you or people like you to be threatened in your country? Are you being targeted because of your religion? Are you being targeted because you are your identity, your ethnicity? Are you being targeted because of things like that? For example, are you being targeted because you're a part of a certain tribe in your country and that tribe is being targeted? That is where you have to show specific why, the specific reason that you fear being targeted or harmed, and it has to be targeted towards you or likely to affect you. How take to approve? How long? So I'd say 3.5 years right now. But keep in mind, you get protection, you get relief, you get your work permit while you wait. And guys, here's the deal. A lot of people make I think it's a short-sighted decision. And I want to shed some light on that, right? Where you will look at a process and say, oh, 3 years, never mind. But you do qualify for it. And the thing about it is, if you never apply for it, you will never get it. And my clients who had the opposite viewpoint, they're like, it's better to have this in process than have nothing at all, are winning because of that, right? Because they took the action. So it's similar, it's like similar to, you have to look at the long term. And just by applying alone, you've taken a step that you could potentially be protecting yourself from detention, to open up new doors for you. If you are detained and you're in immigration court, new doors for you to get bond or get relief in immigration court. Just by having a pending process, that could be a possibility. So but you have to take action or you will never get to it. Um, Can I apply for my citizenship after 2 year conditions removed? So I answered that. Um, is there anything to worry about? I'm not sure what you're referring to. If you remove conditions in your green card for 2 years, they can call you for the interview. If they've already approved it, sent you your green card, no, it's already approved. It's unlikely that would happen. How long will it take to approve? I did it in 2023. When will I hear? So I'd say 3.5 years. Um, all right. What evidence can I use for affidavit of support if the sponsor is on SSDI? So when they're on this, it still counts as income, but you would have to show the statements from the Social Security that they're getting. I think that's Social Security Disability. And you have to show whether it's sufficient. If it's not sufficient for the household size, then and you can tell whether you can tell how much that person has to be making by counting their household size and then looking at the chart, the I-864P form. You can go to uscis.gov and you'll see the form there on the forms button. You can look at the chart there. Now, if it's not sufficient, you need a co-sponsor that's going to show sufficient income. Okay, so I'm not sure, 150 weight or 180 weight. So this is for asylum. If you're applying for asylum, the work permit after 150 days of applying, then you would be able to apply for the work permit. Then within 30 days, they issue the work permit. So, well, at the 180th day, they issue it. So you can't get it before 180 days, but they at the 150-day mark, you can apply for it. So you definitely want to make sure you're marking your calendar to apply for the work permit. If your husband filed for your daughter and USCIS approved and it's at NVC waiting visa approval, but um, the section to pay the visa fee and upload documents not open, what can be done? So if it's not open, it likely means that your priority date is not current. They're not ready to process the case yet. So they'll definitely let you know when they're ready and then open up that portal for you. Is it possible to still get VAWA after 5 years of divorce? No. This is, Very important. If you are divorced from a spouse who mistreated you, who's a U.S. citizen or resident, you have up to 2 years to apply for VAWA and to get a green card without them. So you can't wait 5 years. You've lost that chance after 2 years after the divorce. Now, if you're separated and never divorced, you separated, you can still apply for VAWA. Section 13, diplomats, green card pathway. Yes, that's possible. There are additional forms and qualifications to look at, but it's possible. If your husband filed for your daughter and USCIS approved it and it's at NVC waiting visa approval, okay, so I answered that. They're gonna let you know when they open it up. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the love. I appreciate that. When you hit tap the screen on TikTok, more people get to see this information that empowers them through their immigration journey. So thank you for participating, sharing the live, hitting the likes, and giving me love. I really appreciate that. Her priority date is 2021. Yeah, so it's also gonna depend. Now, if it just depends on the age of the daughter. I'm not sure, but this is very detailed. You definitely have to get an attorney on it. My son has filed for me, got my visa approval. Can I still add my infant child? So this is also a part that is heartbreaking, and a lot of parents don't know this until it's too late. So I'm assuming your son applied for your green card, and the thing about it is, as the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, that means you're the spouse of a U.S. citizen, the parent of a U.S. citizen, age 21 or older, or you are the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen who's under 21, you cannot include derivatives. So, for example, a parent who's being sponsored by an adult citizen child who have younger children will not be able to include their children on the petition. And so what they have to do is, in some cases, they have to wait for themselves to get the green card before they apply for their child, which is the citizen sibling. So, this is where I say, guys, it's very important to have an attorney on your case, because these are procedural requirements and factors that people don't understand. A lot of people oversimplify immigration law, and it's immigration and tax, both areas of law that I focus on, are the most complex areas of law. So that should tell you that this is ripe for mistakes. Immigration, submitting petitions, applications, it's ripe for mistakes if you don't know what you're doing. Well, because this is, a lot of people treat it like, oh, I'll just fill it out and whatever happens, happens. You can't do that. Not in this time, because they are dishing out denials and sending notices to appear if you don't submit the stuff right. Well, my check stubs, bank statement, and employment letter work for my K1 visa since I make 60K. I can't tell you whether it's going to work. We have to look at different factors like your household size, the affidavit of the household size, based on and then your income. And we have to look at your mode of how do you get money. I see employment letter. I noticed that the name of it is in the form of an LLC. So are you self-employed? It just depends. But at a minimum, yes. But if you're self-employed, you have to make sure you submit different kinds of evidence. What can I do when USCIS and court keep rejecting my I-589? Get a lawyer. They're very specific on the filings, and if you don't do it right, they're gonna reject it, and you definitely don't want to do that close to your deadline. My last court date will be October 1st. Couldn't find a lawyer. Can I defend myself? You can give us a call, and we can talk to you. October 1st is definitely right around the corner. We prefer to have at least a month notice on, but give us a call. Let's see. In this case, you should not be missing your court date. If so, do you have a choice? If you can't find a lawyer, no, you must show up to that court hearing, or else the consequences can be worse. How soon after you applied they rejected your application if something is wrong? I'm not sure. If you have a DUI, does it hurt your case? I'm detained. It's possible. It's possible that it could. Absolutely, they're taking those seriously. What does it mean when an IO wrote I-45 pending on your passport after interview? It probably doesn't mean much. Yeah, I don't see, that's not standard for them to do that. But if they approve it, it shouldn't be anything. If the mother is citizen, father is not, can the father sign the certificate if child is born in the US? Yes. The father can be on the birth certificate. If you come in uninspected, does it hurt your case? It depends on what case you're applying for. If it's asylum, T visa, well, T visa, U visa, you need forgive a waiver. VAWA, not so much. VAWA, that's, they don't look at that. Um, Okay, so I'm gonna take the last two questions on YouTube, and then I'm gonna head out. Could T visa BFD be denied? Is that case you won't be legally protected? BFD can be denied if there are certain things in your background. It is discretionary, so that is a possibility. It But having a pending T visa, while that doesn't give you official protection, if you are detained, it can open up the door for the court to determine bond, and also to put your case on hold so that you can pursue the T visa. So just having a pending T means that there are potential options to help you in your defense in the future. Um, could T visa BFD be denied? In that case, you won't be legally protected until your T case is approved. Exactly. If it's denied, but keep in mind, having a pending process is better than not having one at all. What I can tell you, because we are defending clients in immigration court, and one of the things we're noticing is it gets more challenging for those who have been picked up and they had no process going. They never looked into relief previously, and now they're detained. It gets a lot harder because now we have to go through the process of trying to access our client while being detained. And as you can imagine right now, it's hard. I say this, once somebody is detained, they are reduced to an A number. It's almost like they're no longer a person. There is very little individual attention that's provided to detainees, and as the attorney, we have to then go through hoops to be able to schedule calls. They do have the ability to make phone calls to their family, to make at least one phone call, and they do have the ability to meet with the attorney, but it's limited. In some cases it takes 2 or 3 tries because the officers don't pay it. They may schedule a meeting and then they may not pay attention and the client doesn't show up for the meeting, so it takes 2 or 3 tries to get in touch with the client while they're detained. And that means it's a lot more challenging to be able to help in their defense. So, this is why I say before anything like that happens, have an attorney that you have a relationship with, that know of you. So if you're detained, the attorney has you on file. And make sure that you're looking into your options before something like this happens. If you live in the shelter, it's not a problem to remove your 2-year condition green card. It's not necessarily where you live, but if you are living in a shelter, why is that? What happened with your spouse? Did your spouse put you there, and were you mistreated? If that's the case, you can apply. You must make sure you're applying for a waiver if they put you out as well. If you're both at the shelter, that shouldn't affect your case. If you have a DUI, so I answered that. USCIS requests more evidence for my friend Vawa I-45, but she don't have enough. Is approval possible? Yes, but your friend may not know what to gather. And sometimes looking at a request for evidence can feel overwhelming. But we've overcome situations like that to still get an approval. And actually, this is USCIS saying, we want to give you a chance, but here are some questions we have. If you answer these right, you could very well get the approval. So this is where, guys, having an attorney is crucial, because when situations like this come up where there's more complexity, my entire legal team comes together and we strategize. So where the client says, oh my gosh, I don't have the evidence, they don't fully understand what can be gathered as evidence. They may think what they have is not evidence, but when we talk to our clients, we find out that they have the documentation as evidence, but the client just didn't think about it. So this is where the difference between, trying to do it yourself and having an attorney who can understand that there is, they look at evidence broadly. And so if you can gather the right evidence and brainstorm on what could work strategically, that could change the trajectory of the firm and lead to an approval. Do you work with individuals in removal? Absolutely. Give us a call. We have an entire removal defense team in place now to be able to represent clients across the country in their removal proceedings. Get in touch with us. Let's talk about it. And I say get in touch ASAP so we can understand and strategize, get started and strategize. All right. Thanks again. I have to get ready for bed. Another long day. Thank you for your time, everybody. And if you have joined me, you've heard what I talked about qualifying for the T visa. Get in touch with us, and let's talk about it. All right. Have a good night. And I would really hope that I or the attorneys here at ST Law Office get to speak with you and find solutions for you and your family. I aim to be back tomorrow. So look out for me. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, share. That's how you're going to see me pop up on your timeline or your For You page. When I go live, you will get notification. Thanks again for your time, everybody. And I want to help as many immigrants as possible. So does my team. So I really hope you take action to allow that to happen. All right. Have a good night, babe, everybody. Bye-bye.